Hey, everybody, we are live. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. My name is C, and I'm the owner of CLM Custom Designs on Etsy as well as YouTube. And nowadays, I don't know, you can probably find me on any platform. But anyway, my channel is all things crafting. So if you've been here before, welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. Come on in, take a seat, and let's get ready to learn something about Miss Amber. But in the meantime, I need you to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss anything that's going down on this channel. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, hey Olivia, let's get to know Miss Amber Likens. So Amber, introduce yourself and tell the people what you do.
Hey, you guys. So I'm Amber Likens. I am today, as of like several years in, I started as something different, but I'm a YouTuber, beauty influencer, and I am a video coach and do all things online these days, 100% virtual, which is literally the space I thrive in and love it. I just rather talk to a camera all day. It just makes me feel so safe and be in the comments. I like it. But also, I'm very aware of just education behind beauty for women. And that's really my strongest suit is showing up, showcasing and reviewing and testing products for you. And that also has come in the form of me launching my own product. So that's what I do. And that's who I am.
Okay, so we might actually get the tea on this new launch because I hear she's got some things to say. Okay, so you've said a lot. You got a lot going on. We're going to try to kind of stick to the Amber thing because the content or the teaching piece of it is kind of with Olivia, and we're going to have that the next time, right? So we're going to just try to focus on the Amber piece this time. But anyway, so you talked about what you do, which is pretty much all things beauty, but let's like drill down. When did you get started in this beauty thing? Because this is what always amazes me when I hear this number. Because I'm like, who is thinking that they need extra at this age? But go ahead.
I know. At 19 is when I officially became, I would say, like in the beauty industry. Pre that, I was dabbling into like learning myself how to do anything beauty. I didn't even know how to actually fix my own hair. I'm embracing the curls these days as a grown adult, and it is a journey. But even as a child, doing my hair, I didn't know how to really do it. And I was doing all the wrong things, but really trying my hardest. When it came to makeup, I was using samples of product trying to learn beauty. I grew up in the home where my mom was very aware of beauty and loved it and actually had a company and a business herself. And that's just kind of what I followed suit with. I think as children, we see something that our parents do and we think that that is the coolest thing on earth that you could be involved with. And I personally, as a woman and someone that had just recently graduated high school, did not foresee myself going back to school. I wanted to do something completely different. And if I did go back to school, I wanted to do something outside of beauty. I wanted to do something with animals, but the schooling behind that is intense. And I don't thrive in that atmosphere. And so I really wanted to, at 19, go, I'm starting my own beauty business. And that's what I did.
Okay. So your mind was always geared towards making it a business. You know, all little girls probably at some point or another dabble in makeup, dress up and all that type of thing. But your mind was actually really geared towards the business aspect of the makeup. As you mentioned, you kind of had your mom blazing the trail for you. So that's kind of the area in which you went. Okay, so how does a 19-year-old begin to make that transition from playing into makeup, not knowing how to do your hair, not knowing all these things, to full blown, this is going to be a business?
Yeah, I think that you have to, for myself, I had to honestly figure it out as I went. And I think sometimes that's the best solution, because if you try to figure everything out pre-starting, sometimes you won't, because it's very intimidating. So I started with a whole collection of product that I wanted to sample and try on women. And then I just started asking people, like any woman, honestly, I was like, if you just want to sit down with me and let me just showcase product to you, and let's just talk about how you could use products. And then I also made a commission off of that. So that's actually how I made a paycheck. Before beauty too, I had a whole like fleet of women that I nannied for. And so that really became my first, like, in the door, like a lot of moms and in the neighborhoods and, at play groups and stuff like that. So that was kind of easy for me to build my clientele from the beginning. I wasn't in a department store or anything like that. I was just independent as a contractor with a company. And so I just started showcasing product. And then from there, I think for me, the drive was I didn't want to go work for anyone else. I had done that starting this business at 19. I had lifeguarded and I nannied and I worked a waitressing job, 3 days training, and never showed back up. It's just not my cup of tea.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a retail like 30-day, maybe a few months actually. I don't really know. I got a few paychecks, but I did like a retail job and they were like, come in on a Sunday for a meeting. And I was like, I'm busy. I have church and I'm with my family. Like, are you kidding me? And they're like, if you don't come in, it's mandatory. You will not have a job. I was like, okay, bye. Like, I just didn't. I have this attitude of you're not going to tell me what I can do and what I cannot do. So that was also a drive for me, that I didn't want to be employed by anyone else. I didn't want someone to tell me when and where I had to be. And even though I'm a hard worker and I think I work harder than I would like for anyone else, I work harder for myself. But
Sure.
something about that was a turnoff, So that's kind of what drove me. Did I even answer your question?
You did. But you know what? I think you hit on some good things. First of all, I think you have to, I always say, know thyself, because if you know that you are not going to be good in an environment, then don't take that position from someone else, right? If you know you don't want to work for somebody else and you're not going to show up for them, then hey, you're not going to do it. If you say college is not for me, this is not going to be my thing, then hey, you know what I mean? But you got to do something, right? Got to do something, because you got to support yourself. Not going to live at home forever. So what is it that I'm going to do? So I actually like that. I mean, not many people kind of know their self at that age. But I think what it says is have a conversation with yourself, and that can happen at any age, right? Sit yourself down and say, hey, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I don't want to do? Right. And kind of figure that out. I also love the fact that you tapped into your resources. You said, hey, I used to nanny. So these were women, they have faces and whatever. A lot of times people don't want to tap into their crowd. I felt uncomfortable with maybe asking them, or, whatever. But these are the people who have come to know you, trust you, love you. So that is really your first base with any product, right? These become your testers. Let me test this out on you. Not necessarily selling it, but let me test it out on you. Let me do your makeup, and then you walk around and say, hey, you know what I mean? So I think those were some really good points. You kind of use what you had. You didn't reinvent anything. Use what was there, tapped into your resources, and you kind of made it work. So I absolutely love that. And like you said, you didn't have any particular direction with makeup. You were like, I just like makeup. I'm gonna just get a bunch of stuff and kind of see what happens, right? And that is not, I mean, everybody does makeup. So some people may say, well, man, that's a tough business to get into, because everybody, right, is doing makeup, but there's enough space, right? Because you never thought about everybody's doing makeup. I can't do this.
No, I knew that everybody did makeup very differently. And I honestly didn't even know how well I could do makeup. I was very new to it. But something about me had a skill to figure it out. And I use that concept all the time. I'm like, I'm just going to figure it out. And it comes with anything in life. I will figure it out. And if I can't, I will find somebody that can. And then I will continue moving forward with that, So I just figured it out. I took eyeshadows and I figured how to make them work for your eyes, how to make your eyes look smaller or bigger, how to blend it so it didn't look, this weird transition. And so I think for me, I was my best customer and I was my canvas. So if I wanted to take that art onto someone else's face and eventually turn it into being a makeup artist, then I have to practice on me. So I took my own products every day. I practiced and I tried and I washed it off and did it again. And I wasn't afraid to use my own products to do that. I think also as a business owner, we have to be very upfront with ourselves and tell ourselves like that is an investment. We are the testers first. In order for us to show up better for someone else, we have to love our own product. So I had to actually love how I did makeup. And that's really what drove me to know like everybody does it, but everybody doesn't do it well. And everybody doesn't do it like Amber does it.
Right. So, people always say there's so many people doing it. The market's saturated. It doesn't matter, right? You can always find your space within any market, because like you said, no one does it like you. You just have to figure out how you're going to create your niche within that market. So no more excuses, people. I can't stand when people say there's too much, too many. I don't want to hear that anymore. It does not
Yeah.
matter. It's always going to be different, new, whatever. Always, 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 always. So I think that's absolutely great. Now, you also can't be afraid to fail because, like you said, when you started off, you didn't know what you was doing
Yeah.
makeup. I'm sure sometimes your makeup look all kind of crazy.
Yes. There was one time, Carla, that because I'm with my husband that I was with when I started my business. So like we dated, engagement, everything, right now having children. So he's been with me the whole time. I remember
Mhm.
one time that I was at the bank or something, getting out of my car, going into a bank. And this guy saw me in the parking lot. Apparently, I didn't know. And then he told my husband later that day, he was like, I saw your wife. And she had on like this blue eyeshadow or something, like her makeup, something about my makeup. And then my husband said that to me when I got home. And I was like, I mean, I'm wearing what I have on right now. And it was like this vibrant, like crazy, I don't know what it was. It was just like, it was something new and trendy, and I was doing it. And so there's definitely been times where I've been like out of the box. And there's definitely been times that I've been more conservative with my looks. But yeah, I think that I've learned a lot what not to
Yeah.
do now, maybe more
Yeah.
than so ever.
And that's business. It's trial and error. The mess ups
Yeah.
are just as important as the great moments, because if you don't mess up, then you don't know, what you don't know. So
Yeah.
I love that too. Yeah, you gotta be able to make fun of yourself and say, hey, it's a bad makeup day.
Yeah, I was like,
So
apparently
now,
that wasn't a good look. Yeah, I was like, okay, I
right,
won't do that again.
right. So okay, so now we're coming into the makeup. We think we have this down. We're getting clients and we're doing, whatever. And so how do we actually shift that into a full-blown business now, right? We got people, they're running
Yeah.
this. How are we advertising? Like, what are we doing to now come into the I am a beauty consultant and makeup artist? How do we get there from just playing in makeup?
Yeah, you know what? I love this question so much because when I was married, our first year of marriage, my husband had to sit down with me and he's like, listen, you've either got to go get a real job or you've got to make more money with this. And I was like, oh, heck no. You said what? I was like, I don't know. I don't know what you think I'm doing over here, but I'm really working. So, but what he meant to say was, you've got to increase your income or else we got to supplement. So, there were some other streams that I could tap into. So I was just selling to clients, and that was just a small commission, right? The more I sold, the more I made, but like you have to
Yeah.
physically be in the field working. So I wanted to tap into a place where I could build a team. And so I was like, well, you know what? Let me build a team, and whatever they do and I teach them to do, I get paid off of that. So
Okay.
I started increasing my income by that. And I got to a position with the company where I increased my income and I started making a really steady income more. That was like a few thousand every month. So that made a big difference. And then I got to a place where now I was training others. So I was training them even to do what I did. So then that became conversation of, well, can you teach me? So it just it just snowballed. And so I grew a very large team pretty fast. And I reached different positions with the company where I was able to drive free company cars. And so it was really this awesome thing that I had built. But what happened was I got to a place where if I stopped doing what I did, then my girls kind of stopped. And I had to also get to a place where I depended on them to work in order for me to make money. And I also don't like that I have to depend on somebody else, because that's very tough. And I'm not like a pusher, like you've got to do. I'm a motivator, but I'm not like a pusher.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like really strived in that area, but I knew I needed another stream. So then that's when I became a makeup artist, and I took that artistry really seriously. And so I was like, I can sell to my clients. I have a team that's working. We'll keep them going, but I'm going to start doing brides. And so I built up this whole kit of brushes and shadows and foundations and everything that I needed to do a bride's makeup. And then I just started booking brides. And I was like, if you want your makeup done, I'm available for it. And I made this really pretty, like, branded flyer and everything. And then it just became word of mouth. I never really advertised except for my voice, or someone would refer me. And there were multiple weekends probably at least 2 to 3 weekends a month when I was really like driving it hard, where I was booking bridal events, and it would become not just the day of, it would become, a trial run. Like, you want to actually see, do you want to hire me for your event? And then how many girls in your bridal party need this service done as well? So now, can I do it by myself, or do I need to hire help to come with me to also do it? So it became a really lucrative stream of income as well. And that's what got me so excited to just be passionate about beauty. Because when I would sit down with a woman, their struggles, she's like, I don't know how to do anything, and you just did all this to my face. Or she would be like, oh my gosh, you have so much product. Do I need all that? And I'm like, yes, you need all of this plus some. So it just, there went an earring, my headphone knocked my earring off, but it just became aware and very present to me that women don't know how to use beauty products. Like, you might see them at restaurants and see women out and about and they look gorgeous and put together, but they don't know how to put on anything. And I was like, I want to educate women. That's what I want to do. I want to use my voice and I want to use my skills. And I just want to translate that into, when she's at her home, in her bathroom, at her vanity, she feels confident in her process. And also, does she have the right products in her makeup bag? So then that's where YouTube came in. I needed to be
right there a minute, because I want to go back to some things you said, and then we're going to go down this YouTube rabbit hole in just a second. But you said a couple of things, right? So I love that you said what your husband said, right? Because we all need someone in our lives to say that to us. Mine was my accountant, and she said, you know what? I keep doing your taxes, and at some point you need to make a profit, or else this is a hobby, right? This is like a game. Yeah. It's fun. But is this going to be a business, right? We all have to get to that moment where, is this going to be a business, or is this going to be a hobby, right? Someone has to say, right. Now we're working. Like you said, you was working. You didn't know what your husband was talking about exactly, yeah. Right? Yeah. But that's a reality that I think all business owners have to make. And I think it's because we love what we do. We're having fun. So we don't necessarily see the number side. We just know, hey, we're having fun. We're doing this for meeting people. But someone needs to say, hey, okay, this is got to be a viable business. So I love that you did that. I also love that you said you decided to build a team, because I think for people who are creative, touching things and doing things, we always want to do that and we don't want to give that up. Yeah. But sometimes it's not as lucrative as it needs to be, because 2 hands can't always make what 20 hands can do, right? So I think that's also a reality check that we have to think, even though we love what we do and we want to touch everything that we do, sometimes certain businesses, of course, this is not applicable to all of them, but in some, you may have to get yourself a team, right, to cover more territory, to make it bigger, because we just can't be in control of everything. So I love that you said that as well. And really, even though you've loved makeup through this whole process, right? You've always loved it. Your aha moment didn't happen until you hit the bride piece, right? Because then it was like, okay, now I really know what I want to do. Now tell me, how many years into this beauty thing were you when you actually figured out the bride piece?
It was, I think, around 2015, something like that. It became this time where I've got to do something more. So, and then about a few years of doing that, then in 2017, like, I had this big moment and this big shift where it was like, oh shoot, I never thought about that. And that's where YouTube came in. So a few years of doing that. And I'll tell you, Carla, what happened, and those that are listening, I also became a mom. 2012, I had a baby and she was a stillborn. And then I got pregnant immediately after that and had another baby a year later in 2013. So I'm also a mom at this stage where I'm working with clients, like customer sales, and then I'm building a team, and every week, daily. I mean, I'm doing coaching all the time. But then in 15, I had another baby. So, and I was like, I have to do something that I can spend more time with my kids. So we worked it out between me and my husband, where during the week, he's off doing his business. At night, if I need to go work with a client, I can. And then on the weekends, I can do my brides, because he's home on Saturdays. And that's really, people are getting married on Saturdays and Sundays. Now that people get married on daggum Wednesdays, I'm like, what are y'all doing? But it's crazy. But that's what happened. We just worked it out in the schedule where I was like, oh, well, I can make probably like $300 this weekend just to go out for like 6 hours and do a whole bridal party, right? It just depends on how big or how small the group is and if they're paying me for travel. And I was like, I made more in less hours going out on a Saturday. It just made sense to me and it clicked like financially. Right. But then I was like, I can't physically do that the rest of my life. I was actually getting very, very burnt out. And there were times where my husband was taking the kids Saturday morning to breakfast and I missed every breakfast. And he was taking them to different things and doing fun stuff around town. And I remember one time they drove 2 or 3 hours to go do fun four-wheeling stuff. And I was out doing a wedding. And I'm like, dang, I'm missing a lot of fun stuff. And I just felt like there's got to be something more. And I just couldn't figure out what it was.
Right.
So,
and by the way, yeah. So, I mean, businesses go through transitions, right? Right. It's ebbs and it's flows. And it may take you 5 or 6 years to really figure it out, right? The whole time you're working, but it takes years. So it's not this instant thing where you figure it out and now everything is great, right? You have to go through stages and transitions of different things before you really, really get it. So you got to the bride thing and you're like, oh, wow, this is great. Got my team over here and this is it. Now I can do these brides. Now my business is really boom. Then you figured out, wow, a couple years into that, well, this is not going to work now. I got these kids. I'm missing things, So now we got to take another change, right? And so now we're at what, 2019?
Yeah, it was 2017 to 2019 where those few years, that's when a lot changed. Like mentally for me, not really the physical part yet, but the mental part and the back end of business was all changing. And and it was something I never thought about before. So I met Olivia Hayward, which is a business partner. You'll meet her next week. And you met her. She did an interview with Carla a couple weeks ago. But she said to me, Amber, like, have you ever thought of YouTube? And immediately I was like, absolutely never. Because that's just, I thought that you had to be invited. I thought that there was like a special invitation to be a YouTuber, kind of like being on Bravo. It's like, you got to be asked. I was like, shoot. Andy. I was like, yeah. I'm like, this is so weird, right? She's like, yeah, you need to do YouTube. And I'm like, no, that is crazy. And that's not who I am. There's a lot of other people that are better than me doing that. That's just not me. And so, but a few days and a few, yeah. Yeah. Carla.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's funny when it's introduced at first to you, right? And you're like, no.
Yeah.
And so I thought about it and I was like, but wait a minute. I can be in like 100 places at one time. I was like, wait, I think this will work. I was like, oh. So I started YouTube to actually help, like I said, my brides and my customers. They were like, I don't know how to use product. So I would make videos about how to apply eyeliner and how to put on your makeup and how to contour and how to do eyeshadow and how to blend. And I would just do simple makeup things that come natural to me, but are struggles for others. And I was like, let me just make a bunch of videos like that. And my sales went through the freaking roof because people were finding me online that I've literally never seen, touched, felt, heard of, seen on nothing. I'm like, how did you find me? Your YouTube video. And they're on my website shopping. And I'm like, oh, this is working. So when she introduced it, I thought absolutely not. But then a few years in, I started noticing that if I showed up every week and stopped playing around with it because I didn't know what I was doing, then I actually could do something more with that. And then, so 2019, I really stayed consistent and I did a video every single week. 2020, we all stayed home. So I was like, oh crap, I really can't be a makeup artist anymore because I can't go do anything. Everybody's shut down. And so I was like, okay, all I have is online. So I went online. And then I came back to work the end of 2020. And I said to Olivia, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do brides anymore. I was like, I'm over it. I'm over it. So we fulfilled our contracts with people that we already had. And then after that, I didn't book anybody else. And ever since I've been 100%. online and not looking back.
It's very interesting that you made that shift right before COVID, right? That
Hmm.
literally, who knew the world was going to shut down, right? Right as
Yeah.
you were making that shift. But the fact of the matter is you have to be willing and open, right? So when Olivia makes this suggestion to you, you're not really open, but you're kind of really thinking about it, right? To see what happens. But
Hmm.
that's the thing with business. If it's really not working for you for whatever reason, it may not be working for you financially, it may not be working for you time wise,
Yeah.
family wise, whatever it is. Sometimes we have the tendency, human nature is just to keep grinding it out. If I keep doing it, I'm eventually,
Yeah.
going to break the wall and it's going to work, right? But what we really need to do is have the presence of mind to say, okay, I got to do something different, right? Because what's that old saying? You
Yeah.
keep doing the same thing, expecting something different. It's insanity, right?
Right.
So you got to be willing to do something different, but that's very hard because we create this vision of what we want our business to look like and this plan
Yeah.
of how we're going to carry it out. And we really have a hard time deviating from that, probably because it took us so long to establish it, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
business, yeah, but business can't be like that. You have to have really good resources in your life so that when they say that to you, you can really trust what they're saying, right? Because if the person you don't believe,
Yes.
then you're not going to be likely to do that. But you do have to be flexible. Sometimes you want to be headstrong, but that small little pivot made a big difference in your business to the
It
point
really
where you
did.
can go, I can get rid of everything else I'm doing and I can
Yeah.
just be here, but I don't have to miss
Yeah.
everything. I don't even have to necessarily go anywhere, right? I can be in my bathroom sometimes, right?
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
So then you think about it and it's like, this is a no-brainer, right? But it just takes a while for that to come into play. Okay, so now we're coming into the YouTube world, COVID, everybody. So how do you make the transition? Because you said not that anyone will believe it now that you don't want to be in front of the camera, because now you're probably the poster girl for being in front of the camera. But so how do you've wrapped your mind around the fact that, okay, I know I need to do this, right? But how do you
Hmm.
really say, okay, I'm going to be in front of the camera and I'm going to be in front of the camera all the time, showing up consistently? Like, how do you make that shift? Because that's a hard jump for a lot of people. A lot of people like, I don't want to be on camera. I just can't. So,
Yeah.
so what's that? How does that work? What does it look like?
Yeah, well, even before YouTube, I started doing live content when that became kind of popular on Facebook. And that kind of got me comfortable with if I mess up, I'm like, people are going to say what they're going to say because it's live. You can't edit and you can't do anything. It's just what it is. And so I did that for a little while alongside trying to be like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. But I was more like, I got to show up and do live stuff. So I was doing all of that. And I would have a consistent schedule where I would be like Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time, I'm going to teach this makeup technique. And I would go live because I already told them ahead of time what I was going to do. So people knew online on Facebook what I was going to show up and do on those days. And I hired a babysitter. So that's what started the video world for me. But when YouTube is that's a whole nother ball game, you know? So when that started, my first video is the worst video ever known to man. I think to myself, it's a great idea because I'm like, I want to look professional. I put this sheet behind me and I have no depth, no texture, nothing. And I'm like this close to the camera frame. And I'm this is the thing. You have a camera voice and you have a camera attitude. And then you have your real voice and your real attitude. And it's the same person, but it definitely sounds different. And I had a camera voice for a long time. So I'm like, why did I talk like that? It's so annoying. But I did a lot of things that I don't do now, but it definitely shaped me to where I am. So it was uncomfortable, and I didn't really have a lot of views at first. But what started happening for me is it hit me that I was like, oh, so when I upload a video, I just magically thought that YouTube would like do all this work and promote me. I just thought, oh, they'll push it out. That's not what YouTube does, and they will not. So they will only do what you tell it to do, right? So there's a SEO behind it. There's a whole like system behind your videos that will help your video perform best. And at first I wasn't doing that. So I was like, nobody sees this stuff. It's garbage. But the more I kept making videos and I kept listening to what people wanted to learn from me, and that was the best advice. Olivia's like my video coach as well. We coached together, but at the beginning, we did all this together in the beginning. And we'll share that story later. But she was like, what are your customers asking you? And I'm like, I don't know how to blend daggum eyeshadow. Don't they know that? I've done 50 videos. She's like, nope, make another one. I'm like, okay. So I just started making what people were asking me to make. And that's what hit, because then I was having people in my beauty industry, right, that were like, oh my gosh, I know who you are. And now they would share my content with their customers. They would share their content with their team. And then when that would start getting shares, YouTube started, I had more views, I had more visibility, I had more content, more comments. And so that obviously pushed me out. So when people would search, the way people find me the most is through Google search. So That's it. Like if they're looking for anything or they're on the platform of YouTube, I pop up for them. And so, and my analytics say that as well, but it's funny. People will be like, I just found your video. It was so good. I need all the products you just put on your face. And I'm like, really? I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, I sat down with a customer last week and did all this stuff with her, girls. She bought $20. I'm like, and you want everything I just showed you? So, people online were spending hundreds of dollars with me on my website, and I was teaching them how to do makeup. And I'm like, this is magical because I'm good at what I do. But if you're not in front of your right audience and your right people, it's going to not do well. So I was now getting in front of my people that I literally couldn't ever be in front of or meet if I wasn't online. And so I think that switched for me in business. And I was like, you know what? This is where it's at, because working in my local community, I burnt out. I'm done. I'm over it. Like, you know what I mean? You just kind of go like, how many more times can I go out in my community to meet the same people? Right. Even though there's new people all the time, it just wasn't working as well for me particularly. I know it works for others, but the online audience was really a magnet to what I was doing. And so that's where I thrived. And then I would have consultations and I would still have that personal connection with them, but I would try to make things as easy as I could to just be like, go to my website and I'll ship your product and do whatever and take care of them. But yeah, I don't even know.
And I love that you were not. That's okay. That's that comfortableness behind the camera. It just takes you places.
Yeah.
No worries. But I love that you weren't pushing the sales. You were really just showing them how to put on makeup, which was what you love to do and what they were saying. And then as a result of that, the sales came. So it wasn't that they were necessarily saying, I need this, I need that. It was just, oh, you put this together and it looks nice. So I need everything to make this particular look work. Right.
Yeah.
And so I tell people all the time, you cannot chase money. You just can't because it is here today and it is gone tomorrow. I know, Olivia, she made me forget the question I asked too. Olivia's like, she doesn't even know the question. I'm like, I don't even know what I asked her anymore either, Olivia, because she went off, but it's okay.
I think you asked me how, like the comfortability around like starting a YouTube channel, but I went left. I do that every interview. So
that's the beauty of these interviews. We just be talking. Starts off one place and ends up, I don't know, several states away. But you can't chase the money. You got to do what you love, and what you love was the makeup piece, right? And in the process of doing what you love, then the financial will come with that, because it's up and down. And if you chase the financial, you might be out of business next week, because who knows? Nobody might, it just is not one of those predictable things. But I also like the fact that you said you got to get in front of your audience. A lot of times you don't even know who your audience is, right? You don't know.
Yeah.
But if you're in front of 100 people, the likelihood of somebody being your audience, right, versus being in front of 10 people, it's just the numbers game, really is what it is. And then your people find you, your community find you, your blush beauties find you, and before you know it, they got a whole name. So definitely that is that's exactly how it works. So I absolutely love that. So from there, now you become your own brand, right? You go from creating this team, doing this thing for somebody else, and then you just become your brand. And I am of the belief some people may argue with this. I don't know. So I'm just going to say it, that it's very hard to become a brand without social media. It's very hard to become a brand without social media. Even the big Nike and all of that, they're on TV. That's social media. So without some form of views, you just can't become a brand, right? So, you know, you need to get in front of someone, right, to become a brand. And ironically enough, I was a lady I interviewed a long time ago. She had this Kobe doll. She just put out this clip where I guess now Master P has this thing where he's now testing products, because, you know, now everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. So anyway, he tests products now, just like Tabitha Brown tests products, right? So she sent him the bear, and he's listened to the bear, and he's like, oh man, this bear is awesome. You guys should get this bear. She would have never got a chance to be in front of Master P ever, right? Without YouTube. She simply sent him the product free of charge. He reviewed it. He loved it. And now he's telling, you know how many people are going to buy it just because he said, just because he loves it? Aside from the fact that, you know, it's just an awesome product. But it just made me think, like, you don't have access to these people kind of any other way.
Right.
Other than, you know, getting in front of them. So when you said that, I thought, you know, you are absolutely correct. Right? Social media is where it's at. So now we're a brand. We're a whole brand, right? We're a whole vibe. We're Amber Likens. We're Pink, Alicious. You know, everything is going on. Yeah, right. And so now we are promoting ourselves, right? We got the things going on. We are the beauty consultant. But what's the next step for a beauty consultant other than creating her own product, right?
Right.
So I think it's probably about that time where we talk about what you got going on.
Let's do it. You know, I want to speak on the brand real quick.
Sure.
Because this brand aspect is, there was really a thought, and now I think it just left me. Now I'm so annoyed with myself. Oh my gosh, it'll come back. Oh, this is what it is. I don't know what it is. It'll come back. I'm sorry. That sucks. Anyways, yeah, let's talk about what I got going on. Because I had something really good to say about a brand, but it left me. But I do have a brand now. I did not know the importance of a brand until, again, Olivia said to me, you need to build brand awareness. You are your brand. I am my own billboard, right? And so, this is what it is. You could be selling a product all day. Sell a product all day. And you sell for Macy's. Let's just say Macy's. And you have been talking about Macy's is so good. Macy's is so good. But do you know why people are shopping Macy's? It's because people like who you are. And so that's kind of where it hit me, is that I had been promoting this other brand for years. And that's what people associated me with. But if I left that brand, that other brand that wasn't mine, then I had nothing. You know, I had worked so hard to build who they are, not who I am. And so when Olivia was like, you need to build your own brand, and I was like, and she explained it to me, I was like, that makes so much sense. So no matter what I do, people follow where I go. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at. So if you also have a brand, anybody listening, or you promote for someone else, like, just be very aware of how you do that. And it's just important to build your own brand awareness. So, but I do have a product, and I never thought I would have a product, and I foresee it being bigger than it is now in different avenues. But I have created a body scrub that I just started playing in my kitchen one day, actually just making a video for my channel. And I was like, this would kind of be fun to make like a DIY body scrub. And, you know, it was fun. It was good. I enjoyed it for myself, but I was like, if I really want a good body scrub, I need to make it good for me, you know, so I can really understand what's in it. So then I really started digging into products and ingredients I was putting in the scrub. And I was like, oh my gosh, this feels better than what I buy at the store. And so the more I kept kind of formulating and concocting it and all that, because I was like, I don't want to buy any more from the store. I just want to make it myself because I think it's fun, you know, because then it just became that for me, an enjoyment. But I realized how good it was. And I was like, I think I might want to sell it to other people. ooh, that would be really cool. And so I was like, how do I do that though? And so that's kind of how it started. And I think a lot of brands start that way. You end up doing something for yourself that you love so much. And then it's so good that you're like, ooh, somebody else would love this. Like, this has got to be a thing. And there's so many body scrubs on the market, but I don't care because nobody has one like I have one. And I just get excited about it. And I'm like, many people have makeup, many people have everything, but they keep making them because they're different and they evolve and all that. And I know that my products will only get better with time and resources and all that stuff. Yeah. And so, but it's good for what it is now. It's amazing and awesome. And everybody is loving it that has already purchased it so far. And so it's thriving. It's doing really well. So I just can't wait to see what else we do with it.
And I think it goes back to what you said before in the sense of people follow you, right? So you've built up this awareness. You have told people like, hey, you know, people know you for quality things, right? Because the things that they've already been purchasing from you are quality things. When you talk on your channel about beauty, you're talking about quality things, right? And that's not necessarily where you get it from, because you can get quality things from the dollar store, quite honestly. Yeah. It's just about finding those quality things. So people know you for that. So certainly if she's making something and creating something, it's going to be quality, right? So we can kind of trust in her. And I think that is so key, going back to what you said, building your own brand, because again, right, if you are just associated with that brand and then you create this, they'll be thinking that this is really this brand, and it's like, no, this is my thing, right? So I do think that there is a level of awareness that people probably don't even think about, because you think even when you're in these other places that it's really your brand. You think that, and it's like, nah, because you know, you can be replaced, you can be whatever, you know what I mean? So it is very important for people to understand who you are and what you have. Aside from this is just like one stream of what I do, but I do all these other things. So yeah, I think that is super cool. And again, you did it because you loved it, right? If other people love it, wonderful, but you love it, right? It's what you're doing for you. And I love the fact that you said, this is where I am now, but in time it's going to get better, right? You're not saying this is the best thing ever in the world, but you're saying, hey, I'm in the process of creating this, evolving this, making this. And I think that that's the natural evolution of business, right? We can go back to the 19-year-old who was playing in makeup, that then turns it into, you know, working for this business, that turned it into working for myself. And now I'm creating these things that I love to play in so much. So I think it becomes a natural progression in your business. And I think everybody who's in business for any type of longevity should kind of be thinking about that, right? Where is your business going? At different points, you have to kind of stop and look at it and say, where do I want to be? You got to develop plans as you go along, because your first plan isn't going to stay with you throughout the entire time, right? It's going to hit a wall, need to be changed. So you have to, at different points, stop and say, okay, what's next? Where do I go from here, right? What do I do? So I think that's awesome. Okay, so with our remaining times, let's talk about, for the people, some of the things that you wish you hadn't have done. The oopses that you could go back and change, like don't do this type thing. What do you got for the people?
Yeah, I wish that I wouldn't have put all my eggs in one basket for the longest time. I put all my eggs in one basket, and I hoped that that was going to be the thing that set me apart in my career, and it didn't. It kind of failed me. And I wish I wouldn't have done that. So, because that's kind of when I got to the place where I was like, I need to build my own brand. That kind of was the start of that, where I was realizing that I had just put too much time into one thing, and that just wasn't going to ever be my longevity, you know. And I believe God had other plans for me, and it just, the doors never opened, and it was really sad. So I wish I wouldn't have done that.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And some things that, any other little nuggets that you want to give to the people that they should be looking to if they're trying to get into the beauty business, or YouTube, or anything else you got for the people?
Yeah, I would ask people that are around you that you spend most of your time with, what are some things that they see in you that they see that you excel in, that they see as a strength of yours, a weakness of yours, something that you even want to ask your peers, and not really peers, but like peers that are like, you know, your closest people that you can trust what they say, and you're not going to be angry at them the rest of your life. But, you know, like asking them honestly, what do you see? You know, I have a business or I work for somebody else, but what potential do you see in me? You know, so I think that that's a place of like actually knowing what other people think of you, not because you want to change who you are necessarily. It's like sometimes you just can't see that, you know? So I think that that would be a big place for you, especially if you're thinking of starting any business for yourself or putting yourself out there online. I think that self-awareness is really a good place to start.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you because I'm sure a lot of businesses started from someone close to you asking you to do something and you've been doing it for them and they're finally like, okay, well, why don't you sell that or why don't you do that for somebody else?
Yeah.
Like, you've been doing it for me forever. So sometimes we can't see it. We see all the imperfections. Well, it's not great. It's not this. I can't.
Yeah.
But other people tend to see the greatness in what you do because we're always so hard on ourselves. Like, so we need someone else to say, you can do this.
Yeah.
This is great. So now that you're doing this, I'm assuming that it's working out with family wise. You can create your own schedule. You can do all the wonderful things that you need to do. And you don't have to work for anyone because we know from 19, probably even younger than that. You probably was telling your mother you're not listening. I'm sure you probably got all kinds of hand pops because you was probably saying, nope, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I was a daggone brat. I was like, you didn't tell me what to do. Yeah, such a brat.
Yeah, but you know what? It's serving you well now, right? Because you're getting done what you need to get done. So I think that's awesome. So a couple of weeks ago, we met Olivia and she talked about all her handmade jewelry and she talked about a little bit of her getting into YouTube. So this week now we're talking to Amber Likens, who's talking about her beauty and her consulting and things like that and her little bit of YouTube. So in a couple of weeks, I think it will only be right to bring the two of them together as A&O and kind of see what that's going to be about, right? So we've seen them individually. Now we're going to bring them together and we're really going to get an explosion in a couple of weeks. So I think everyone's hanging out with us today. Is there anything else that you want to say before we get out of here?
I want to say, Carla, you are an amazing interviewer because anytime I listen to any of your episodes, it is this just effortless flow of like this natural conversation that I just want to encourage you, get this on Podbean, get this everywhere because people need to be hearing how you interview. Your style is amazing. I just want to give it up to you. You do a great job.
Yeah, I'm going to work on that. I say that all the time. That's for the first Tuesday in October. We'll get to that. That's what we'll get to. Yeah, I definitely need to work on that. It's always, and that's the thing with business. It's always more to do. It's always something else. It's time and it's, all of that. But yes, definitely. We'll get into some of that in a couple of weeks too, when I talk to both of you. Well, thanks so much. We have people in the chat. I love it when we have people in the chat. Again, I'm going to tell you, I didn't even say, where can people find you? I mean, I know you're everywhere, but let's give them the specifics where they can find you.
Yes, I honestly just want to point y'all to my website. That is, I have housed everything on my website. So amberlikens.com. And then you can get access to any product that I have on my site. If you want to see my YouTube channel or even shop any of my looks or my Amazon cart, like everything that I do is right on my website. So amberlikens.com. And it'll get you to where you need to be.
All right. Even that new body butter. So you'll find it all there.
Yes, so good.
Yes. All right. Well, I think this just about does it for us. Again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Check Amber out on her channel. Also go over there and subscribe to her. Check out all the things Amber Likens. Again, I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And this is going to do it for another episode of From the Ground Up. And I will check you guys out in 2 weeks. Signing off.
Thank you, Carla.
No problem. Thank you.